G'day everyone. So today we're going to have a little rant about housing, some of the pitfalls and things to consider when you're buying a house or looking at owning a home. There's a lot of things that really go on with home ownership. Most people don't have any idea until they're actually in the deep end and experiencing it for themselves. So let's jump in and take a look at some issues, eh?
Hi. Put a finger down if you just closed on a house all by yourself 29 days ago, moved in 10 days ago. During your due diligence period, the heat wasn't working, had separate HVAC guys come to make sure that everything was a-okay. You were good to go, so you were ready to close. As of moving in, the air is not working. You have someone come out to look at everything, see, what minor changes need to be made, whatnot. Turns out there's mold in your system. The compressor is not working, sounds like it's gonna blow up. And so we have to replace the entire system. $11,000 later.
Ooh, yeah, that's nasty, isn't it? So just bought her first house and straight off the bat, $11,000 bill to replace the AC. Yeah, so it's not very pleasant. And if you don't factor these sorts of things in when you're buying a house, then you're gonna get caught out. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess depending on where you live, the AC probably isn't the end of the world. You can throw some extra clothes on if it's cold, or you can chuck a fan on if it's hot or something like that. Drink a bit more water. I'm sure you're gonna survive unless you're living in a really cold climate or something like that. But I guess you get a log burner anyway, couldn't you? Yeah, so if you're not factoring these things in when you're buying a house, then it's going to be a pretty unpleasant experience for you. And it's pretty concerning at the moment. Here in Australia, we've just got this 5% house deposit scheme going on. It's just started up, and it looks like a lot of people are taking this up. So if you can barely scrape together a 5% deposit, I think you know you're not going to be in a good situation when you actually do go and get a house and you've got these problems going on. Yeah, so I think a lot of people might get caught off guard here. It's really not, all that it's cracked up to be being a homeowner. There's a lot of costs that come into play, and if you're not handy and you can't fix these things yourself, then, you're going to end up in a sticky situation. Let's have a look at someone else and their home ownership woes.
If you grew up in the UK, you've probably been brainwashed into thinking that buying a house is the pinnacle of success. But I genuinely think that buying a house and getting a mortgage is a terrible financial decision for most people in their 20s. Putting every last penny you have into your house deposit and then using all of your monthly income to pay your mortgage and maintain the house will cripple you financially. Then you have
See, now that's an interesting point too. I mean, when you're younger, if I was to go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't have blown so much money. I definitely did a lot of partying and stuff like that. I'm sure we all do. I probably would have toned down on that a little bit, but I would have also taken advantage of, share accommodation, maybe moving in with friends and that sort of thing, to keep the house costs down and actually save more money. Um, and unfortunately, when you get older, it is tougher to do those sorts of things. Friends end up getting families and things like that, and so you just don't have the options available to be able to do those things as what you would when you were younger.
nothing left to build any sort of wealth. Trust me, being house poor is so ghetto. Like, say you've managed to save £50,000, amazing. There are so many better ways to use and invest that money in your 20s rather than locking all of your capital away in a house. Liquid assets like stocks, funds, crypto, having access to cash, so important in your 20s. Next, interest. People love to say how they're building equity in their house, but I don't think most people understand how much interest they're paying in their monthly mortgage payments. Amortization, people, say it with me. Amortization. On a standard 30-year mortgage, most people are paying mostly interest for the first 15 years. Like, you need.
Yeah, so that's another interesting fact too. I mean, people say, "Oh, you get the equity out of the house and this and that, rah rah rah." But at the end of the day, if you borrow a big loan, you're going to pay a massive amount of interest back. I think it's something like if you borrow $500,000, you end up paying 1.2 million back on the house. So uh, the equity gains, you almost don't even benefit from them, with the amount of interest that you have to pay on the house.
You need to understand that in the early years, you are paying back the bank way more interest than you are building equity. And then there's a case for buying a property and renting it out, which the people just love to shout about on TikTok. Guys, I've tried to do this and run the maths on this so many times. It doesn't make sense financially. It is not a gold mine. Unless you have serious cash to burn and invest for many, many years down the line, it is not a financially smart decision. With taxes and interest rates, the very small, like few £100s, if that, you're going to make in cash flow every month is not worth it for the stress and time of being a landlord.
Yeah, that's so true. So, if you were to take out a loan and rent out that house with the out of hand costs that we're in today, you're gonna be at a loss renting that property out when you factor in your mortgage repayments and property taxes, any repairs you might have to do on the property and that sort of thing. And then there's the added dread of, are you going to get a bad tenant out of it? Are they going to trash your house? You end up with some hoarder or something. You can't get rid of them, and you're just stuck in this nightmare. It's almost not even worthwhile, is it?
Plus all the capital that you're putting in and saying bye-bye to. As well as it just not being the financially smartest decision in your 20s, there's also just the stress of being a homeowner, losing the flexibility to relocate, probably having to live in like zone 6. I'm definitely not all out against home ownership, but if owning a home, i.e. having a mortgage, is going to mean that you're living paycheck to paycheck, wait until you're a little bit older, more financially secure, and you are ready to settle down.
Yeah, so there can be a lot of downsides, right, in owning a home. You also got other things as well, like the neighbours that you have. You can't control your neighbours, and bad tenants next door can bring your price of your property down. That's for sure. I mean, we've probably all seen that on the news before, right? There's some poor guy that's living next door to a hoarder house, and it's dropped the property value down by 200k or something like that. And then there's other things too. You get like new developments and things like that might go on, which can drop your price of your property down. Things like rezoning and stuff like that, or I mean, like even the bloody crime rate, if that rises in the area or something like that, that can bring the price of the property down too. Yeah, so it's a lot of things to consider when you're buying a house, that's for sure. Let's have a look at someone else here.
I became a homeowner at 22 years old, and I instantly regretted that shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you why I regretted it though. So I ended up putting 78,000 down on my house, right? And once you get your house, right, you become house poor. Okay? Now, everybody's not gonna be house poor. I was house poor. I'm speaking from my experience, bro. I'm young as shit, buying a house. I'm house poor at this point. I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so this is always a terrible situation to be in, right, when you're house poor. Let's face it, these days, with the amount of money you have to borrow to actually get a home, I mean, that's, your mortgage repayments are probably almost certainly going to be higher than what you would be paying rent. So, if you're struggling to get together a deposit and that sort of thing at the moment, then jumping into home ownership is certainly going to be a struggle. And you're trapped, right? You're stuck with that situation that you're in. Yeah, so it's always a tough situation being house poor, and I do feel for people like that. But you got to think about these things when you're looking at getting a home. Factor it in. You really don't want to be spending any more than 30% of your salary on your mortgage. If you are, then by the time you factor in cost of living and all the other expenses that go on with life, you end up house poor very quickly.
You know what I'm saying? I did not really gauge all the maintenance that it took to take care of a house. On top of that, I had to put work into the house. They sold us the house, right? Sold the house with mold in it. How did I not know it was mold in it? Did you not get an inspector? Yeah, I had an inspector. This what these dirty, nasty, gritty people did. Scantless, right? They painted over the mold so thick that the detectors couldn't get it. And it didn't even smell like mold down there, nothing. It was all dry, right?
What a bunch of dirty mongrels, eh? They painted over the mould that thick that hoping that no one would notice it and then just flogged the property off. Kind of reminds me of a used car salesman or something like that, eh? It's crazy. And I mean, you really don't want to be stuck with something like that, right? If you're living in a house with mold in it, that's terrible for your health. It's not a good place to be living in, and if you've got a mortgage and you're stuck with it, I mean that's absolutely terrible. What an absolute nightmare. Oh, there's some dirty bastards out there, isn't there?
So I had to go in, get the walls chopped out, get get the house waterproofed, whatever that came up to. So this is just more stuff you got to come out of. But all in all, I would say that I really regretted it once I figured out how much the maintenance was, bro, and like how often you gotta do certain things. And obviously, it makes it a little sweeter that it's your shit and it's an investment. But for me personally, I just was not ready for that. Now the house is about to sell. I actually don't know what I'm gonna do with the cash that I do get from the house. Obviously, I might invest in another property. I think that's where my head's at. But just something to like rent out or something. You know what I'm saying? Not to live in. I can't do it. I'd rather live in an apartment. I'm gonna be honest.
so, so he's had to pay all these costs to have all these repairs done and that, and he's thinking about getting a house to rent. Oh no, yeah, I would not be doing that. uh, I don't think he's learnt from his mistakes there. What's this guy's bloody? Did he opt into a Tesla car at the Tesla dealership or something to do his recording? There's a Tesla sign in the background there. uh, Alright, let's have a look at one last person here.
Felt more financially insecure than I do right now in this point of my life. And let's dive into it. Last August in 2024, August 2024, I closed on my very first house. The house that I bought is by all means a starter house. It's a little outdated, a lot outdated. Definitely needs some work, but it's in a great area, A plus school district, a great area. Anyways, I bought my house for over $500,000 at a 6.2% interest rate. And just outside of buying the house, I've already spent over $60,000 of cash, not debt, not any loans, nothing, of cash from my savings pouring into the house, whether that's repairs, some updates. And I haven't even done like the big projects yet. I haven't gone in and redone the floors or redone the countertops or done like a lot of the fun stuff. Like I've done painting, we've done some moderate landscaping, not even like big landscaping. I got like a few pieces of furniture for the primary bedroom. Like I haven't gone crazy, but all of the little things have added up. We had to get a new AC unit, which was $7,500. We had to get our house grounded. There was something wrong with the electrical, and that was $2,200. All of the stuff when you own a house adds up. And obviously
So she's gone and gotten herself a house, a bit of a rundown house in a nice area, and I think that's generally a good idea. We're even getting a rundown house in a average area or a not so great area. The less you can borrow at the end of the day, the better, right? Because you just hammer that loan, get it out the way, done and dusted, and then move on from there. But then she's gone and spent 60 grand, and it seems like a lot of that cost is to improve the house. And I don't really understand that, why people do these sorts of things, like take out home equity loans and this and that, and they haven't even paid off the house yet. I mean, at the end of the day, if you haven't paid off the house, you don't own it, right? So what's the point in spending money to improve it? I mean, You know, fair enough if you have to replace something, you know, the oven goes or something like that, then, you know, replace it, get a new one. But, you know, when you get your house, you should be bloody knuckling down and paying that thing off as fast as possible. Just get it out the way. Try not to pay too much interest, and the faster you pay it off, the less interest you got to pay, right? So I don't understand why people do these sorts of things and, you know, go out and borrow money to improve the house. Just live in it. Bloody put up with it, you know? It might not look the prettiest, this and that, but who cares? At the end of the day, the faster you pay it off, the more money goes into your pocket, right? And the less money that goes to the banks. So, yeah, I don't understand it, but each to their own, I guess, right? You know, can't can't bloody help what people do. Anyways, yeah, been a hell of a little rant here. So if you enjoy me content, then maybe smash the like button for us, eh? Always helps us out. Cheers, legends.